All right, well, welcome everybody for today's session. Just want to check to see if everyone can hear me. Let me know if you can't. Okay, excellent. So welcome everybody to our session today on how to make Data Cloud data actionable in Marketing Cloud. So I'm Tim Ziter. I'm a manager at Cervello. We are a Salesforce partner helping firms stand up marketing automation solutions for their business. Let's see, let's go to the next slide. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of our incredible sponsors. Please take the time to take a look at all of their great offerings while you're at the conference. Without them, we couldn't make this happen. And let's talk about what we're going to be going over today. So we've got to do this setup of creating that data actionable in Marketing Cloud from Data Cloud. We've created a use case to walk you through and some data, real life data to work with. We're going to go over how this use case, this data action part of Data Cloud fits into the overall flow of Data Cloud. And then we're going to go right into the platform and, depending on time, build out a segment from start to finish, see that data go right into Marketing Cloud and create and view some custom automations and journeys to bring that to life. And then we're going to do the same for data actions. So it'll give you two different options of how you can take that data from Data Cloud and send it into Marketing Cloud to make it actionable. So let's talk about this use case. So Cervello Bank has launched a new mobile trading app, and they've done an all-out marketing blitz to try to get in new users to make trades right on their phone. Super handy, super cool. The problem is a couple months in, they're noticing that signups and trades are about 50% lower than expected. So they wanted to sort of address that problem. One of the problems is this mobile data that's on their app is very siloed. They have no way to directly pull that into their Salesforce CRM environment, much less Marketing Cloud. And so they're finding that's a challenge. And then the communications on the mobile side are also very limited. There's no real way to email them. There are app notifications, but they wanted to really leverage the power of Marketing Cloud to communicate with these new signups to get them to trade or to get some new leads into the funnel. So they what they wanted to do was target, we're going to use this use case today to target two segments in their customer funnel. So the way this Cervello Bank use case breaks out their customers, they break them into two groups. You're either a prospect, someone who have signed up for the app, have started to interact with the app. They might have put an account, created an account number, but they haven't deposited money into that account. That's usually like sort of separates a prospect to a trader. Now within the prospect window, there's a big bottleneck, which is getting those people who've signed up to link their bank account. Once they link that bank account, they're more likely to make that first trade. So that's the first segment we're going to go after today is how can we isolate those mobile traders who've signed up, maybe created an account, but haven't banked their link, so you can get them to motivate them to link that bank. Now, the second half are these traders, right? These people they've linked their bank, they may have deposited that money, but and they're starting to trade. So same thing within this group. One of the big bottlenecks within those traders or traders who are starting out is, we've got a large group of people who've made that deposit, right? They have money in the application, ready to make that trade. They just haven't made that first trade. So that's the second group we're going to want to isolate, are those people who've deposited money but have not made those first trades. Okay, let's just take a look at all of this data that's coming in from Data Cloud that is going to sort of set up this use case. So we've got, in the center here, we've got Data Cloud, which is pulling in all this data. And then over here on the right, we've got that mobile data. Like we said, it was very siloed. Well, now we're going to bring that into, feed that into Data Cloud. That's one source of the data, right? Those people who signed up for the application. Another source we're going to use as an example, like you might use this enterprise data from the bank. It could be used ingested based from like an Amazon S3 bucket. So this would be, if you're a banking customer, you might have a checking account, you might have an investment account. And this brings in all of that information so that can be matched up with their mobile app information on the right. And then a couple other Salesforce data points. Because Salesforce is the system of record, contacts and leads are managed in the Salesforce CRM environment. So we're pulling that in as well in the Data Cloud. And then last but not least, from a marketing standpoint, because the goal of this is to send them out communications, we're going to be bringing into Data Cloud things like the subscriber key, and then also later on, and maybe a different use case, bringing in that email engagement to help drive that model. So those are all the different data sources that are coming into Data Cloud that we're going to be referencing today. And then let's take a look at how this all works together in that data flow, like we talked about at the beginning, what part the data action side is going to play in the role. So you can see here on the left, we've got those 4 different data sources that are coming into Data Cloud, that enterprise data, the mobile app, etc. We're going to be creating those, we've already created those data streams in Data Cloud for you. Didn't want to go through that exercise today. And then we've also gone through the exercise of mapping each of those streams so that they can work with the model for unification, right? There's a specific model. You need to map all those attributes from all of those different data sources so it aligns with this unified profile. And that's that third column under unification. With that unified, now we're going to be able to make those different segments that we're either going to use the segment part of Data Cloud or the data actions to drive those marketing actions based on that unified individual in Data Cloud. And quickly want to go over the model in Data Cloud that helps you align all those data sources, because you'll see this in action today. So when you are bringing in those different data sources, you have some required fields in order to make it work in that data model. So in our example today, if we're going to looking to communicate in Marketing Cloud via email or maybe by phone, we're going to have a couple of requirements here. First of all, we need that individual object at the top. We're going to also want to make that connection to the contact point email and the contact point phone. And then also the party identification will be helpful in that way as well. So it's just good to note that within Data Cloud, when you're doing unification, it's not just a single object, it's a couple of objects that you need to align your data, and you'll see that in play today, but wanted to call that out. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're going to be driving these 2 use cases through the 2 different ways in Data Cloud that you can send that amazing data through to Marketing Cloud. So at the top here, we've got our no bank link, right? These are those customers who've created an account. We want to start communicating them to say, hey, can you link your bank and then take the next step? So on the left, for both of these scenarios, we're going to be pulling in that unified individual. So at the top, we're going to be creating a segment in Data Cloud, and then we're going to use 2 different steps in that process: an activation target, which is going to point to Marketing Cloud to say, okay, this is where this segment is going to be written to. And then the activation object is going to indicate what are those fields that we want to populate and send those values into a data extension in Marketing Cloud. So with all of that set and published, it's going to end up creating a data extension in Marketing Cloud in the shared folder, which we'll go through as well. And then we're going to be using a custom query to query that data extension, which is going to feed the journey. Now, we want to cover 3 cool ways for how we're going to be leveraging this data in Marketing Cloud. The first data that we're going to use is to segment to determine who should be entering in this journey. That's very important. The second data point is how we can personalize this email messaging or phone messaging once they're in the journey itself. So using those data cloud data points to do that personalization. And last but not least, the third item is to use that data cloud data to determine the different paths they should be going on through the journey. So hopefully we'll be able to deliver all three of those today in both of these examples. The second example, the lower part of the slide, is the drive first trade. So this is that lower part. These are those traders who they've deposited money in their account. They just haven't made that first trade. So we're going to go a different route here. We're going to create a calculated insight. Now that calculated insight is going to determine how to get to those key values, that subscriber key, the email address, and it's going to include all those attributes that are going to be moved over to, instead of creating a data extension alone in Marketing Cloud, we're going to be firing these subscribers directly into a journey itself using an API entry event. So we're going to create a calculated insight. Based on those settings, we need to and then build a data extension to align with those data values, set up this API entry event. Then we'll come back into Data Cloud and we're going to create a data action target and then the data action itself, publish that so that whenever a calculated insight is run, where we have someone who's deposited funds into their mobile app, we can instantly send them an email message so that we can try to get them to convert and place that first trade. So we will send that to the API entry event, and then that'll naturally pull them right into a journey, and then have that same level of personalization and using that data to create those different journey paths as well. So let's talk about the segment, what we're gonna walk through here today. So first, we're gonna create that segment. We're gonna create the activation target. The activation itself is going to determine all the different attributes that are going to be populated in that data extension. Then we're going to publish and then validate that data gets populated in Marketing Cloud. Once we're in Marketing Cloud, we're going to take a look at that query automation and show that dynamic content and even walk through a custom attribute in a data designer that you can use in your journey paths. Okay, so we're going to hop out of this slide deck and we're going to go into Data Cloud itself. So let's start with segments. We're going to create a new segment, walk through this, creating this from scratch. So we're going to go to the segments tab in Data Cloud. We're going to click New and just give it a second to refresh, and we will start creating a segment. So we're going to use a standard segment. We're going to use this visual builder application, the default settings. Now I've got a name here that I'll just make sure that I use consistently across all other, all the assets that we're building here, so they're all the same. I've got a name and a description that we'll just copy over here. And then here's an important thing just to note. We want to use, whenever you're creating your segments, it's recommended to use the unified individual first. That's going to be that individual that has all those key data points that have been unified. Start there. You can always go back to individual or lead or contact, but this is usually best practices. We're I'm probably going to choose the rapid publish in this example because in this example, we want to send that email to somebody who's created an account but haven't bank linked. So as soon as they've created that account in an application, we're going to want to send this message relatively soon thereafter. So we're going to probably want to use a more rapid publish in this example. So we're going to do this on an hourly basis. We're going to set this up to start today. We'll have this start maybe around, let's do that around 2 o'clock. And we're going to do the end date at the end of this year and hit save. So it is creating the segment. Give it a second and it will populate. in Data Cloud. And so what this is populating here is 1,800 unified individuals in our data set, right? It's a little bit narrow, and our volume's pretty low because it's just a sandbox. But this is that curated list of just those unified individuals. Now we can further refine this to create that segment that we're looking to populate. So let's pull in this account terms agreement. This is basically a flag that says that we've got an account. This person has created an account, or they have an account currently on that enterprise data. So that helps narrow the things down a little bit. And then let's add this bank link in here. So we want those that have not bank links, so that's false. And then one other way to just show the flexibility of this content, we also want to include a bank link that has no value. It all depends on the data set. So we want to include both of these options. You know, what's nice about the functionality is if you hover, if these two are next to each other and you hover over this, you're allowed to click on this and select that or statement, so you can, you know, have a little bit more flexibility in the terms that you're using for your segmentation. Okay, so once you've set up your segmentation, you hit save. That should rerun these numbers and give you a little bit more of an accurate picture of the audience that you're looking to target. Just going to grab some water. There we go. Okay, so we see that narrowed down from 1,800 unified individuals to a much more targeted subset. So there it is. We're creating that segment. That's part one of how we're using Data Cloud to use that to create those custom segments to drive this, and then we'll see that populated in Marketing Cloud. So we are all set here, and save. We can just hit done, and then this should pop up with our screen to show us this segment that we've just created. Shows all the details that we just created, so we are good to go there. We'll come back once we've created the activation target and the activations to publish this. So next up, let's go to activation targets. And let's go in and we're going to select new, create a new activation target just to walk you through this process. Pretty straightforward. And we're going to, again, this is what is determining where this segment is going to be written to. So we're going to want to select Marketing Cloud. It doesn't really tell you specifically, but we all know that icon well. And then we're just going to name this the same name that we've been using for all our other assets. And we want to select this data space, which is, we currently just have one right now, but you might have others, multiple ones in your environment. This is the business unit that's attached to our Marketing Cloud business unit, so good to confirm that. And that should be it about setting up an activation target. So pretty straightforward from that standpoint. Easy step, again, just connecting this segment to, we want to write this into Marketing Cloud. Next up, we want to create an activation. So this is going to pull everything together essentially and tell Marketing Cloud what are the fields that we want to populate on that data extension. So we're going to click new for this activations. And let me just copy this name so we've got that ready to go. We're going to use the segment, activate data from a segment, click continue. We're going to use the default space. The segment that we're going to use is the same segment that we've created. So we want to navigate down to that _nav segment. You can see we've created quite a few there. I'm getting it. Am I still being able to screen share? Let me see if I can go off video. Maybe that might help. Am I still able to screen? Are people still able to see my screen? I got an error. Okay, fantastic. Sorry about that. All right, so then we want to select that activation target. So we'll go back in here and select this activation target. And I'll just give that a second. We want to select on the unified individual. Again, you can always select the individual as you're looking to open up your filtering. We want to select the email section just to fill out this a little bit more in detail. They'll give you, based on how you set up your unification model, you'll have a default for where that email address should come in. So that should be preset when you come to this stage. But if you wanted to add an additional source or change this source, you can go in here and say, like, for instance, if we wanted to have Salesforce be a better indicator of the email instead of, say, that mobile app, then we would want to, use this order. Use Marketing Cloud first, then Salesforce CRM, and then finally the application itself. So that's how you can use that to modify that in that area, that criteria. So with that done, we can hit next. And then this is where we're going to want to add those attributes, the data that you're going to want to have populated in the data extension itself in Marketing Cloud. So because they added an account number, we're going to want to add account number. Maybe when that account was created, we could add that as a data point. We'll also want to include like that bank link, just in case they have populated that to true. It'll be good to have that as a data point. We'll talk about that later. And then first name, relatively simple sets of data here to personalize that email as well. We're going to hit save. We're going to hit next. And then let's just name this. And it'll default to an incremental refresh. There were in the past some settings that you can use a full refresh here, but you might have options in your environment depending on how you're looking there. And let's hit save. So with that activation created, now you're all set to go back into the segment and publish that segment, and that will end up bringing your data down into Marketing Cloud. So if we just click into the segment itself, give it a second to refresh, and we're going to go up to here to publish now, and that will publish that segment. It also will probably publish at that 2 o'clock time frame as well. It's been successfully initiated. Okay, so that completes the part in Data Cloud for creating a segment. Now let's go into Marketing Cloud and take a look at that data that's coming through. So like I said before, it is if you're set up correctly, this will populate into a data extension in Marketing Cloud under the shared items. So again, we're in Email Studio. We're under the data extension tab, and here is that shared data, shared items under that shared data extension. You can see this customer 360 segments, and here are all those different data extensions that have been created. Let me just pull up one from an earlier segment that I'd run, just so that you can see the data. It takes about an hour for that data to get populated. So a folder gets created based on the name of your segment. And then in that segment folder is a data extension. So let's just click in here and let's take a look at this data so we can get a picture of what is coming in from Data Cloud into Marketing Cloud. So there are those 23 records that we saw in that segment there. And then let's take a look at this data because it's, those who are using Marketing Cloud, there's some couple of points here that we're going to want to be sensitive to. So first of all, from a Marketing Cloud standpoint, we're going to want to take a look at that subscriber key, right? And in this use case, if we're communicating with contacts as this model, you can see one of the benefits of using Data Cloud is that this mobile app user created an application where it is triggering us to communicate to them. But as we probably would imagine on that mobile app, there is no contact ID. There's no way to link that to a subscriber key. And so that's one of the amazing benefits of Data Cloud. We pulled in that mobile user. We synchronized the account data that we've got here, an account number. It's another data set. We know that this person hasn't bank linked because of the mobile information. That's data that's coming in from the mobile from that separate data source as well. And then we've also got this subscriber key, which might come from Marketing Cloud. It might come from Salesforce CRM. Now we're seeing all of this data now in Marketing Cloud all aggregated, so that when you send the email, you're going to be using that same subscriber key for that mobile app user that you would use if you were pulling them directly from Salesforce CRM. So you won't have to create additional subscriber keys when you're communicating to those mobile users if that was not pulled through Data Cloud. So one of the huge benefits from Data Cloud is the efficiency of the data and how you can prevent those duplicates when you want to communicate in Marketing Cloud. Now you can see it's not perfect, right? You can see this mobile app data field coming through. Now this is how you can use this information as you're looking at your data to refine your segmentation, either upstream in Data Cloud, or you can always use queries in Marketing Cloud to either prevent sending those or finding a different path to populate that subscriber key. So anyways, this data is coming through. This is fantastic. You can see all these different data points. Now let's talk about how we can take this data and send them through a journey. So we've got an automation set up that is connected to our journey, right? No bank link, data extension. We'll take a look at this query and how we're pulling in this data. It should be connected to that data extension. And so this is a pretty basic query. But just wanted to go through the exercise of showing how to bring this to life, because you probably don't want to use the data extension that Data Cloud is writing to. I mean, it's in a shared folder, so probably won't even be able to be used in a journey. Plus, you kind of want to keep that data separate. So that's why we created this query. It's relatively straightforward for this use case. So we're pulling in that data extension that Data Cloud is populating. We're populating all those fields that we're going to be using in the journey itself to obviously the basic subscriber key and email address to send the actual email, and then some of those personalization data points. And then in our where clause, we've got some filtering in here. So example, we're just looking to pull in one subscriber. We're doing some testing, but this is where you could say that the subscriber key has to start with a 003 or a 00Q. There's some filtering in there that you could use to prevent those subscriber keys going in if they're not aligned within your model. And then last but not least, we are using a way to dedupe those people who are already been entered into the journey itself. So we are joining the data extension here that is feeding the journey, right? Doing a left join. And we only want to pull in those subscribers that are not in this data extension. So that prevents the duplication. Simple way of doing that using a left join and a null statement. So there's the query for how to pull in those subscribers into the journey itself. And then let's just take a look at this journey. Going a couple of points. Let's take a look at this email. Well, let's just take a look at the flow of the journey. So in this example, we've got someone coming into the journey. We might have a QA step where they need to validate a certain certain information, like their email address needs to be, in this example, email address has to be populated. We'll cover the emails in a second. And then we might also want to include a step in our journey that is going to be checking that bank link data that's coming in from Data Cloud, so that we might want to communicate with this segment, send them 2 emails, right? If they send their first email, hey, you've created an account on this mobile app. Let's see if you can link your bank account. You could send that for the first email. And if they don't do those steps, say, not 3 minutes, this would probably be, maybe a week, then send them another email. But this decision split will be checking that data that's coming in from Data Cloud, because if it's updated to, yes, they've bank linked, then they would kick them out of the journey. So we'll show you that functionality in a second. But let's just take a quick look at this email, just so that we can show how you can deliver on that second point we talked about, which is using that Data Cloud data to personalize the email itself, using that data directly from the Data Cloud environment. So Marketing Cloud is doing a little bit of thinking here. There we go. Thank you, Marketing Cloud. So we're going to go into preview and test mode, and we're just going to go and select the data extension that is feeding subscribers into this journey to show how this might get personalized with that Data Cloud data. So we're just going to go select that data extension, and there's that one subscriber. Let's hit select. And okay, so I mean, it's pretty basic personalization. You can do a lot more complex, but you just wanted to see how this carries through to the end customer, right? This account number is probably coming from, could be starting from that mobile application, could be driven over to that enterprise data, could be pulled in from that S3 bucket into Data Cloud, and then it's segmented, unified in Data Cloud, comes into Marketing Cloud, and it gets displayed in an email from Marketing Cloud. So pretty cool way to see how that data transforms through, really orchestrated from Data Cloud. It makes it seamless. It's just like any other data point. That's the power of Data Cloud to do that. The name could be the mobile app might have might be a different type of name where you might unify and say, no, that first name. So for my example, my name could be Tim, could be Timothy, could be Timmy. I might prefer Timothy, and that might be coming from that enterprise data. Again, that's going to be a way to find the best way to display that personalization. So there's how we can use that in the email. And then just on how that gets executed in Marketing Cloud, relatively straightforward. We've just got a code snippet, text block, code block at the top of this email. And all we're doing basically is just pulling in, setting those variables based on those values that are in the data extension, and then just using the V function in the content itself to display it. So relatively easy from an AMScript standpoint, but if you've there's a lot more that you can do from a customization standpoint, but just wanted to show those values coming through. Okay, the next example we wanted to cover is how you can use Data Cloud to carve out those different journey paths using this decision split as another basic example. But let's just go take a look at this decision split and take a look at how this is set up. Because I think, as you know, if you're a journey builder in Marketing Cloud, the data of that subscriber when they enter in that journey is stale, right? It is only as good as the minute that they entered in that journey. But what we want to do is, 7 days later after they've received that email, we want to check to say, hey, has this person bank linked or not? And unfortunately, that's not going to be in the data extension here in this journey. We need to find another way to get to that data. So what you can use is, again, you leverage that Data Cloud data to create a custom attribute to populate that data in a way that you can access in Journey Builder. So let me just show, I think while it's refreshing, I'll go over to Contact Builder to show that custom attribute that's created. I think it's in our second chain here, this no bank linked custom attribute. So relatively straightforward, right? All we need to do is to create a custom attribute in Data Designer and pull in that data extension that we're pulling in from, from that shared data extension. We might have to, depending on your setup, you might need to update a data extension within your environment to do that. But again, it aligns that subscriber key to that bank link field that the Data Cloud is updating on an hourly basis to using that segment. So if we go back to Journey Builder, what this is doing is using that you can see the path that it's using. It's going to that contact data. It's going to that no bank link custom attribute, and it's saying, if that bank link is false, then send them the second email. If it's not false, then kick them out of the journey itself. So there's a simple way of how you can use that data from Data Cloud to create a different paths within Journey Builder. And of course, you can do this in a lot more complicated way, but just wanted to show you that third part, which was how to use those data points directly from Data Cloud to do that. Okay, so I know we're getting close on time, but I did want to cover on the Data Cloud side, the data action, the calculated insight in the data action. So let me just quickly give you a couple of quick points on that. And we're just going to go quickly into the data action calculated insights to see how that's created. So a different way to populate data into Marketing Cloud using calculated insights and data actions. The key part that we want to cover here is the understanding of that unification model in Data Cloud. So you need to understand that model to pull out the data that you need to send these subscribers using a data action. So you can see here in this schema, you start with the individual, right? I mean, that's sort of like your contact or your lead in Data Cloud. Now, to get to the subscriber key, you have to link to the unified link individual object, and then you need to link it to the unified link contact point email. That's that required contact point email in that model that we pointed out earlier. That contact point email ID is the subscriber key. And then to get the email address, you have to do one more step, which is that unified link contact point email to get that email address to pull over into Marketing Cloud that allows you to send that email. All the other data points are coming from that unified individual. So it's a multi-object scenario you'll have to be familiar with and sort of work through in your data to sort of see that come to life before you actually build those calculated insights. So let's just quickly cover in Data Cloud how you could create that relationship. And I just want to walk through an existing calculated insight. We don't have time to create one from scratch, but just show you how this is created. It's a click not code solution, so you don't have to be a whiz at SQL, but you kind of need to know a little bit about SQL to make this happen. So just like we walked through on that schema, these are the three objects that we need to link to get to those data points. So we're starting with a unified individual. When you start out afresh, there's just this item on the canvas. There's a plus sign. You can just add these joins. So if I click into this join, I'm looking to join that unified individual to that unified link individual. So each one of these joins you set up, you select, okay, I want to join the unified individual, and then you'll be able to navigate to find the unified link individual. In this example, we want to do a right join just so that the data waterfalls for each one of these join steps. And then you need to select the matching fields, the on statement that you would normally do on a from statement in a SQL query to get that data aligned. So that's how you can use those join statements to populate the data. And then two last steps. Once you've made that data relationship, you'll want to select all of the fields that you want to populate in the data extension so that you can use that to send the email, to personalize it, etc. So this is where you're going to use this aggregate function. You'll need to first create a unified individual count. We typically, in this example, use a deposit amount. It sort of gives you a total of the total deposit for this individual. And then the dimensions, those are the fields in the data extension that you would want to add as well. And then last but not least is the filter, where in this example, we want to filter those people that have a deposited amount greater than zero, right? We want to find those people who've deposited money into the account. So that's just sort of another way just to make sure that you're filtering your segmentation. Okay, now we only got 4 minutes left. Just want to cover one more area in when you're creating these data actions that's very important. So whenever your first step is to create that calculated insight. And once that's created, you're going to have 2 data points that are going to be really important. You're going to want to note, this is how you're going to align that data in Marketing Cloud. The first data point is this API name. So this is going to be the start of the data extension field that you're going to want to create in the Marketing Cloud environment, this syntax. And then for every single one of those fields that you created, you want to add to that syntax this API name in the data extension itself with an underscore separating these 2 data points. So it's mandatory that you set up your data extension in Marketing Cloud with this exact syntax in order for the calculated insight, ultimately the data action, once it's published, to populate that data extension successfully. So if we go into Marketing Cloud, this is an example of the data extension that was created, and you can see, let me see if I can highlight this because it's quite long. You can see if let me see if I copy this. You can see the data sort of, let me see if I can arrow this over. You can see the data starts with that, the calculated data, overall, see what it was called, an API name for the overall calculated insight. And then you can see after that, we do an underscore, and then it's the individual fields that you want to just paste that in. So that's a little bit more specifics of how you can align these 2 data points. So we'll wrap it up there. I apologize, we sort of ran out of time. Let me just go back to my recap sheet. And so hopefully that gave you an overview of the use case, of where this part, the data action part, sits in the data cloud overall flow. Hopefully gave you a good deep dive into the segment part of how to create that end-to-end into Marketing Cloud. And I do apologize running out of time on covering the data action side. We do have a video which I can drop into the chat that has this this session. It's about an hour and 15 minutes going through every single one of these steps in detail. So please check out that YouTube video for this whole use case, sorry for limitation of time, in detail. And that's it. Did anybody have any questions?
Hey, Tim, I'm live on stage with you now. We have no questions. Let's see. Okay, great. Actually, we did have one question. We can try answer it in 20 seconds here. Why are we creating segmentation for unified DMO and calculated insights? Why not leverage calculated insights for both?
It's a great point. You should explore both of those options, and there'll be different ways for using one or the other. But get familiar with both of those options. It can impact pricing, consumption credits. So definitely explore both of those options. I think you'll come to that answer by digging into both of those examples. I can't just give you one answer for that, but it's good to be familiar with both. Great question.
Awesome. All right, folks, that's all we have time for. You'll be pushed to the next session automatically, so enjoy the rest of your Dreaming, and don't forget to join the closing keynote for our swag announcements. Take care, everyone.